The cabin was old, set deep in the Appalachian mountains. Eleanor Vance, a young woman from the city, thought it was charming. She wanted a fresh start. Away from the noise and the crowds, the mountains seemed peaceful. Eleanor unpacked her few belongings. The air was cool and damp. It smelled of pine needles and earth. She felt a flutter of unease. It was very quiet here, too quiet. She explored the small yard. Tall trees pressed close. The sun was setting. Shadows stretched out like long fingers. Eleanor went back inside. She locked the door. She was alone now, truly alone. Days turned into weeks. Eleanor settled into a routine. She chopped wood, she cooked simple meals. She explored the woods around the cabin, but she never went far. Something felt off. One afternoon she heard voices and whispering just on the edge of the trees. She stopped to listen. The sound faded. Had she imagined it? The wind maybe, or something else? Night came. Eleanor lay in bed. She could have sworn she heard the whispers again, this time closer, right outside her window. She pulled the blanket over her head. She told herself it was just the wind, but she wasn't sure. Eleanor started seeing things, fleeting glimpses, something moving between the trees, a flash of white, the glint of eyes. She told herself it was animals, deer or foxes. One day she was certain, two figures, tall and thin, standing at the edge of the woods. They were watching her. She blinked and they were gone. She felt a chill run down her spine. She tried to focus on her chores, but she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, of being followed. The mountains seemed to be closing in on her. The strange occurrences continued, small things. A pile of stones arranged on her porch, a dead rabbit hanging from a tree branch, disturbing gifts, left by unseen hands. At first, Eleanor tried to rationalize them. The stones were probably just kids messing around. The rabbit, a predator's kill. But deep down she knew better. These were messages, warnings. She started finding strange symbols carved into the trees around her cabin, circles with dots in the center, lines that twisted and turned. She didn't recognize them, but she could feel the malice radiating from them. Eleanor's fear grew with each passing day. She started having nightmares, visions of shadowy figures with glowing eyes, their whispers echoing in her ears, mocking her, threatening her. She tried to tell herself it was just stress, isolation. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong, that she was in danger. She considered leaving, going back to the city, admitting defeat, but something kept her rooted to the spot. A strange mix of fear and morbid curiosity. She had to know who was tormenting her, and why. One evening, Eleanor found a single white flower on her doorstep. It was a type of wildflower that didn't grow anywhere near her cabin. She picked it up. The petals were cold and damp, like they had been touched by death. That night, the whispering voices were louder than ever. They seemed to be coming from everywhere, surrounding the cabin, closing in on her. She could feel their cold breath on her neck. Eleanor knew she had to get out of the house. She grabbed her jacket and ran outside into the dark woods. She didn't know where she was going. She just had to get away. She ran until she couldn't run anymore. Her lungs burned. Her legs screamed for her to stop. She collapsed at the base of a tree, sobbing uncontrollably. Through her tears, she saw them, the figures from the woods, standing in a circle around her. Their eyes glowed an unnatural yellow in the darkness. They were chanting a low guttural sound that sent shivers down her spine. Eleanor tried to scream, but no sound came out. She was paralyzed with terror. She closed her eyes, waiting for the end, but it never came. When she finally opened her eyes, they were gone, vanished without a trace. The next morning, the sun rose over the mountains, casting long shadows through the trees. The air was eerily still. The only sound was the gentle chirping of birds. Eleanor stumbled back to the cabin. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of what had happened. Had it all been a dream, a hallucination brought on by fear and isolation? She packed a small bag, the essentials. She had to get out of there. She had to tell someone, anyone, but deep down she knew no one would believe her. Who would believe in whispers in the wind and eyes in the woods? Eleanor Vance was never seen again. The authorities searched for weeks, but they found no trace of her, no sign of a struggle, no indication of where she might have gone. Some say she got lost in the woods, succumbed to the elements. Others whisper that the mountains claimed her, just like they had claimed others before her. The cabin still stands, empty, silent, a testament to the darkness that lurks in the shadows of the Appalachian mountains. A reminder that some secrets are best left buried and some places are best left undisturbed.